of the Education Act in 1870, the area had to provide education for all children aged between 5 and 14. At that time, there were no board schools in the country. The first board school in Folkestone to open was North Board School, but that soon proved to be inadequate. The growth after the railway was so rapid that it was evident that Folkestone had to provide for another school. And in 1895, the land where this school is now was owned by Lord Radnor, and he agreed to sell 1 acre of it for £800. He offered to pay half that himself, and the remaining 400 was to be paid by the school board. Plans for the school were drawn up, and the accommodation was meant to be for 100 boys, 80 girls and 132 infants. The children were to be segregated, although all the departments were on the same site in Sydney Street. On the 20th of June 1896, the foundation stone was laid by Stephen Penfold, who was the chairman of the school board. At that time, George Spurgen was the chair of Folkestone District Council. He was actually chair twice, in 1890 and again in 1896. The first staff appointed to George Spurgeon School were Mr. T. Jones, who was the first master of the boys' school, Miss L. Stevens, who was the mistress of the girls' school, and Miss Hugo, who was the mistress of the infants' school. Now the school is 100 years old this week. We've decided to celebrate by having our centenary celebrations running over the whole week. As you can see, I'm wearing a Victorian costume today. Today, Monday, is a Victorian day. The children are all coming to school dressed as Victorians, and the teachers are dressed as Victorians as well. It'll be quite a formal day, and we're even going to have a ceremonial beating for some lucky boy.
Left, touching your ear, each time. Left, right, touching your ear, and stand still. Jump, together, jump, apart, together, apart, together, and still. Some people can't manage that. Right. Arms out, and down, and out, and down, and out, and down, and out, and down. Keep your feet apart. Put your hands in the air, and from here, touch the ground. Go, and down, and up, and down, and up, and down, and up, and down. Fetch me my cane. Stand up. Feet together. Inwards. I said with your legs apart, and you stood there like a nincompoop with your legs together. Come here. Just there, boy. Bend over. How many?
Ow! Ow!
Stand up, boy. Now back to the line. Stand still and together. Apart. Together. Apart. Together. Apart. Together. Apart. Together. And stand still. Stand still. One hand, your left hand, Swing it round by your ear. Touch your ear. Round you go. And again, and again, and again. Then this, then this. As though you're swimming backwards.
Put your hat on, boy.
Good.
Goodness me.
And still.
He has not been doing as he was asked.
Oh dear, well, I'm not having that. Answering back as well, I suppose. Yes? I'd like to go and get my stick, Right, bend over, boy. How many? 10! 10? Right. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Stand up. Are you crying, boy? No. Good. Back to your class. Anybody else misbehaving? No. Right. Stand still then. Running on the spot. Begin. Get those knees up. Lift your knees up. Up. Good. Run. And still. Frederick, come out to the front. On your own, running on the spot. Begin. Knees up, boy. Very good, and still. You dropped a penny.
Pick your hat up, boy.
It's got to be a penny.
Headmaster. This boy is in big trouble. He keeps throwing his hat on the ground. And he's laughing at me, Headmaster.
Bring him out to the front.
Oh, Ashley! Morgan, how could you? I can't do a thing with him, Headmaster. Just laughing at me.
How many shall we give him? No, I think he's learned his lesson.
Have you learned your lesson, boy?
Just a threat is enough.
Some of the most popular names in 1897 were Annie, Florence, Alice and Edith. And for boys, Frederick or Fred, George, William, Albert, Edward and Charles. And you can see there's quite a difference between those names then and the popular names nowadays. For instance, the modern names might be Sarah, Kelly, Samantha, Jodie, Emma. And for boys, James, Christopher, Ben, Daniel or David. And the children are taught in a very formal way today. The desks are in lines and they're taught very, very formally in quite a simple way compared to the massive curriculum that we're expected to give the children in the late 20th century.
Bring me your work.
Mrs. Clark, could you get me the hat, please? This is not your best work, is it, boy? And why not? Wear this. Go and stand by the piano. Let this be a warning to you. If you don't work properly, then you'll wear the dancer's cap and you'll stand by the piano for 5 minutes. I will not tolerate shoddy work. Turn around and face this way. Right. Right, the rest of kindness, please. Geoffrey, bring me back my hat. Here. Do not talk to anybody. Do not turn around. Try the hand on your desk. That's very nice. What a clever boy. Very nice writing back here. Will you ever manage to write with a pen, I wonder? Just look at you. Mrs. Clark, will you ever? Well, you can't go out to work writing on a slate. I'm sorry, you're going to have to learn to use that pen. If Jamie Philpott can do it left-handed, you can do it right-handed. Now, hurry up. Shannon Palmer, turn round. Right, you can write the rest of this line. Soon gains affection. Best writing. Kindness soon gains affection. I shall stand it on the piano. A warning for anybody else who'd like to think they don't need to work properly. So, Christopher, have another go with that pen.
Discipline in Victorian times was very strict. Caning was very common. And we've got a visiting Victorian teacher today who'll be very strong on discipline with the children, and he's teaching children of 8, 9 and 10-year-olds.
Anyway, well done, there's hands going up. Come on, yes boy. Dear, oh dear. If you're guessing why you're putting your hands up, tell me then. Well, if you say there's 2, tell me what they are. Yes, boy. Say clearly and don't rock about. I've given you permission to stay seated. Old Testament and New Testament. The Old Testament is the Jewish history. So the New Testament is all to do with Christ, and the Old Testament, the Jewish history. That's simple. How many books are there in the Bible from start to finish? There are 66. How many sections? 66. No, how many sections? No, I told you. 2. And in those 2 sections, there are 66 books. Ma'am, homework might be again for these, as they have nothing else to do. These new matchboxes that are coming out, they can put colours around them and put the name of each book on the Bible and make their own library of 66, and then put them in correct order. What is the first book in the Bible? Don't go hard and lean off the table. Yes, boy?
The Old Testament.
No, the first book. It's the first book in the Old Testament. You may not know it. If you do not go to Sunday school, and if you have not been taught properly, which it looks as though you have not, Genesis. Well done, girl. Genesis is the first book in the Bible. Say it. Speak it louder, girl. Genesis. It means the beginning. The beginning of your life was the genesis of your life. All of you, say it together. Genesis. Now give me the first book in the Bible, quick. Come on, first book in the Bible. They seem to know, you should remember it. Genesis, say it. Genesis, say it properly. Genesis. Right. How many books in the Bible?
That's very nice, Sarah. Well done. Get rid of those rubber marks, please. Quite artistic. Very nice, Christina. Congratulations. Really tried extremely hard with that. Maybe you'll be able to display it for your mamas and your papas to look at. Very nice, Sarah. Don't do too much emphasis on the outline. Concentrate on the shade, please. Nice piece of work, Kevin. Well done. It's coming very nicely, Russell. You've got a very difficult angle for some of it. Don't forget to see if you can put the stalk in on the top of the apple, and then we'll know that it is an apple. Very nice, Thomas. Don't put too much more detail on it, or I think you might spoil it. Just fold your arms and have a look at it now. That's it. Very nice, Michelle. Congratulations. Well done. Much better detail. Now, Jamie, we've had a whole Victorian day of education. How do you think it's changed from 100 years ago to present day lessons?
The writing has changed a lot. So, like the capital letters are all completely different. The way that the lessons are taught are different in the way that today for our news, instead of just writing it out normally, you have to actually copy it all down. And
what about the maths? How do you think the maths has changed? What have we done differently today?
we've actually said them out as a class instead of writing them down on paper separately.
That's right. And what did we actually speak out loud all together as a class?
All of us that done all of our tables.
All of us that did all of our tables.
All of us that did all of our tables said them out loud in the whole class.
That's right. Which do you think you've preferred? Do you like lessons that we do now, or do you think you would like to have done the Victorian lessons all the time?
I prefer the lessons that we do now because they're a lot more simple.
And they're simple, but do you think you're learning as much?
No.
You don't? You think the Victorian children knew more than you do?
Yeah. Yes.
But did the Victorian children have all the books to look at that you have?
No.
Could they just go up to the library?
No.
So do you think they learnt more sums and basic handwriting? Do you think they had a general knowledge?
Not quite as much, not as much as us, but the teachers were stricter, so I think they would have learnt more maths and English.
Good, well done. So do you think then that you would like to have been alive then? Because did you enjoy the drill session in the playground this morning? Why?
I just found it fun when we were doing all the jumping.
But would you have liked to have done that every day?
No.
I mean, what PE do you do nowadays in the week at school?
Rounders and
football.
cricket.
And what about on a Friday?
We have swimming on a Friday, which they wouldn't have had.
No, the first classes at George Spurgen School, or Sydney Street as it was called, didn't have swimming, but by about the year 1910, the top classes were going regularly for swimming lessons, so that stayed the same, hasn't it?
Yes.
Jamie, which do you prefer, the clothes that you've worn today as a Victorian child, or the clothes that you normally wear to school?
In a way, I would prefer the Victorian clothes because they're a lot more fresher than the big sweatshirts. But I find that it's not quite. I prefer the normal clothes in a way because they're more simple than all of the old clothes that they used to wear. And it's a lot easier to get changed and dressed again after PE.
Do you think you would be warm enough if you were just wearing this, because you would have worn this summer and winter?
In the winter you get very cold because you're only wearing a shirt and a waistcoat.
So all in all, you prefer being alive in the 20th century rather than the 19th century?
Yes.
Good. Thank you, Jamie. You answered that very nicely. Put your pencils down, hold your arms and look at your pictures. And after you look at your picture, give yourself a mark out of 10. After you've looked at your picture, please give yourself a mark out of 10 and write it on the corner, please. I don't expect anybody to give them a mark lower than 5 out of 10, but neither do I expect anybody to give themselves a perfect 10 out of 10. I think, Carly, you should be sitting up more neatly, please. Victorian children didn't sprawl across their desks in that fashion.
Nice big drawing. Put your hand down, boys. Look at this. Carry on. Right, Jonathan, what do you think life was like during the Second World War if you were an evacuee?
I think it would probably be quite hard for the children having to leave their families and knowing what things to take and worrying about whether they'd be with people that like them or not.
How would it be for a boy like you with rationing without any sweets?
I don't think they'd like it very much, really, not having sweets and their favourite foods. Really, so I wouldn't like it.
Would you like, when it's an air raid, would you like to go into an Anderson shelter? What would it be like, do you think, having to sleep the night in an Anderson shelter?
I think it'd be dark, and if there'd been a lot of rain, it'd be wet and damp, and I wouldn't enjoy it very much in the dark, hearing all the planes going over.
Do you get the cane now?
Yeah, sometimes. Miss Porter don't hit us with the cane because she ain't got one.
In Victorian times, it was a lot stricter. How do you think it was more stricter than what it is now?
Well, they had the cane whenever they were late or didn't do a lesson in, and the teacher used to give them a cane because she used to whack her cane against her table to whack them to make them in time with the reading, and if they got a word wrong, they used to get the cane.
Do you think it was stricter to be at school in Victorian times than it is today?
The teacher used to have ink instead of pens or pencils for the register, and they had drill instead of PE.
Would you like to live in the Victorian times?
No. Yeah.
Do you think it's better at school now, do you?
Yeah.
You do? It's not so strict, is it?
No.
And the teachers are nicer?
Yeah.
This morning, we're going to have a fashion show for you. And the idea of this fashion show is to give you a feeling about how fashions have changed over the years. But if you look very carefully, you'll see that we haven't changed that much. So fashion is the word that we use to describe the style of clothing which is currently being worn by usually the younger generation. And that, we think, covers from teenagers to early 30s. So that includes all of the teachers. Okay, so if we start off the clothes that people were wearing yesterday, clothes of Victorian times, they would have been influenced by what European men and women were wearing. You were all wearing lots of different styles, the teachers were wearing different styles, and today we have Miss Austin, who is actually dressed probably as Mrs. George Spurgen would have been dressed when she went shopping. When she went shopping, carrying her basket, no carrier bags you notice. Lovely hats, ladies would not be seen out without hats. Lots and lots of black clothes. Right, next period of history we have for you, Edwardians. Miss Maddox. Lovely dress, long wrap on it. The hat again, hardly seen without a hat, and something that ladies always used to wear and you very rarely see them wearing now, gloves. Special lace around her collar is a jabot. And we have another Edwardian lady, Mrs. Bell. Now, look at Mrs. Bell. When Mrs. Bell turns round, she has something very peculiar on. It's called a bustle. And ladies in the Edwardian era thought this made them look really good. Mrs. Bell's a bit concerned. Also, we have lovely trim ankles peeping out from under the bottom of the skirt.